Cities Skylines 2 is releasing on October 24th, and it is arguably one of my most anticipated games of the year. Promoting the launch of the game, the developers over at Colossal Order have put together weekly highlights of the new features that are coming to the game later this year. Each week I will do my best to summarize some of these features and provide some valuable input for the community. This week we have some exciting news on traffic and the possibility of traffic accidents. More on that later. But if you could do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe, it would be so greatly appreciated. Also, if you could leave a comment saying what you are most excited for in Cities Skylines 2, I would love to keep track of the community's most anticipated features. So, without further ado, let's get into the update. This week's update is on traffic AI, and more specifically what the team has done to make cars a little less finicky than in Cities Skylines 1. Because, just as anyone knows, once you get to a certain point in the first game, it becomes less of a city sim and honestly more of a traffic management game. There were 9 different categories that Paradox highlighted, but I'm going to focus on just 7 for this video. So the first one going over is pathfinding cost. Cars will now pathfind based on time, comfort, money, and behavior. The choice really comes down to the individual citizen in that vehicle. For example, if the citizen is a teenager, their most important factor is money, so they would look for cheaper options when traveling, meaning that they would look for cheaper choices when it comes to transportation and when it comes to parking. Which means, yes, not only are parking lots priorities for cities, but you can also manage down to the specific parking lot just how much it costs to park there. Another interesting note is that the further you ship resources, or the further that a company ships resources, the more expensive it becomes, meaning that companies will try to make cargo trips as close as possible to increase their own profit margin. So that's some pretty cool stuff. We love in-game optimization for companies and really trying to prioritize and make the most money for them and for your city. Our next category is lane usage. Simply put, vehicles would begin to use more lanes. No longer are the days of 50 cars in the same left turn lane. If you played the first game, you know what I'm talking about. The AI will now work to optimize road usage and to smooth out traffic as much as possible. Also, kind of surprisingly, overtaking is now a thing. So if there's faster vehicles, they will work to go around the slower ones just to get to their destination faster. So another cool feature that's a part of this is that citizens will now pull over to allow emergency service vehicles to pass by them. So the traffic sim, agents, and performance category is really boiling down the complexity of the decisions made not only by the traffic, but by the pedestrians on the sidewalks as well. Performance is also vastly improved in the game, and they mention that the only real limitation to the simulation is the hardware that you're using to run the game. So I imagine that the game runs extremely well across all systems, but I think you would want to prioritize a higher end system if you want a bigger and bigger city. And to head on to that, I wanted to share this super cool screenshot. I saw it going around on Reddit and Twitter, but also it was from their blog post. Just check out how massive this city is and how vast those suburbs are away from the city that you can see in the background. It's just incredible. So roundabouts, they're everyone's favorite, and they talked a bit about them last week, so what did they add this week? Well, they talked about how they operate much more like real life, where vehicles will give right away to those in the roundabout, but could just as easily cut someone off if they determine that's the best route forward. And I imagine there's going to be a fair share of accidents happening in roundabouts. And speaking of which, let's talk about the traffic accidents. Traffic accidents are now a new feature, and I don't know whether to be excited or terrified. If you guys ever played the first game, you know how much potential there is for collision between two cars, but I guess we'll have to see. So a lot of factors actually go into when traffic accidents occur. So things like road conditions, lighting conditions, weather, and disasters. So it sounds like it'll be essential to utilize streetlights and make sure that you have plenty of road maintenance services throughout your city. In addition, it looks like cars will have physics attached to it. So gone are the days of cars phasing through other ones. So during an accident, a car could slam into a tree, another vehicle, or literally anything else and create huge traffic jams until they're cleaned up by the proper authorities. So now let's transition over to parking. Parking is another addition that I'm super looking forward to, and it looks like it'll be essential to the gameplay. Like we spoke on earlier, different age groups will dictate the way in which they interact with the environment. For example, adults are all focused on time, so barring anything else, they will park in the way that is most time efficient to them, and likely probably the most annoying way to you. Also, like I mentioned, you can now set parking tolls and fees at different lots. Doing this will really dictate the way that you want to shape your city. Do you want a bunch of free lots in a downtown area? Do you want paid lots in a place that's supposed to be more expensive? Really, the choice is up to you. So let's now end it by talking about traffic between other cities. And this is really the final category I'd like to touch on, but it's a new feature that allows you to connect to other cities, or basically, in other words, create outside connections from beyond the map's boundaries. Unfortunately, this feature does not improve the city's economy, but it does add an alternate way to direct traffic throughout your city. And that was just about everything we know about traffic coming to Cities Skylines 2 later this year. I'll leave a link in the blog written by Paradox going through all of these different features in the description below in case you'd like to read more in depth about it. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.